Hello everybody, welcome back to the YouTube channel. You are on the Slightly Modified YouTube channel. My name is Andrew Garza, also known as I Garza, and today we are going to be diving back into the 1JZ E36 project. The engine is almost done. He said it's just 1 or 2 more days out, but I'm just going to get us started on a few more things that I'm going to need to do before the engine gets back. But first of all, we got a new part in the mail, so let's check that out. Man, it looks so good. Alright guys, so let me go over everything I have here on the table. As you guys know, this OEM turbo is water fed and oil fed. So this is basically the whole kit for the whole turbo assembly. So let's just start off with the oil part. So as you can see, the oil return line is obviously the thick one. Both of these inlets and outlets swivel. That way, you know, if you have a front or rear sump, I'm assuming you can adjust it to however you like it. And this hose comes way too long, so you can kind of route it however you want and cut it when you're ready. This is the oil feed line to the turbo, and it is nice quality AN line. And then it goes from a 90 to a banjo fitting right on the side of the block, which is cool. And then here is the adapter that you bolt to your upper oil pan. That comes with the gasket. And then we have the water lines. Water in and water out. I don't know which one's which yet. One is longer. So we got gaskets for those as well. And then this one you have 2 because the other side of the turbo is just blocked off. So we have those, but we basically already have a lot of these gaskets, but it's just good to have. You know, I'll just use the most quality looking one out of all of them. And now we get to the turbine side. So I don't know if you guys remember when I was kind of like painting all the turbo stuff, it was missing this gasket. So this is really nice. It's a multi-layer steel gasket. It's a total of 3 layers. So this is perfect, and it has that little compression ring or whatever for a good seal. It also comes with brand new studs and nuts, which is awesome. And then here is the turbine outlet. It comes with a brand new gasket. That's good because I was actually going to reuse the old one. And it also comes with brand new studs and nuts as well. Now that I'm running a rear sump, I wasn't able to run the stock one because it was 90 and it went towards obviously the front of the oil pan because it's a front sump. So these you're allowed to swivel, so that was a major plus for me. Things were getting so serious that I had to take all of my parts and move them into my spare room because I had a lot. So here's all of my stuff right here. Everything's looking good, looking like a snack. So the only thing I'm unsure about is, I don't know, I kind of like these hard water lines. So we might actually hold on to these. There's the front sump oil drain. As you see, it's already freaking bent, so this thing's pretty much trash. All right, guys, here's the deal. We have our next small project. So there's a few different types of oil pan locations you can get on the JZ. There's a front sump where the oil pan is over here, and there's a rear sump to where the oil pan is over here, which is in the back towards the bell housing of the transmission. So in the E36, they like the rear sump because it provides the clearance you need to get the motor in the car. So I got this rear sump off of a non-turbo motor. So what that means is basically it's the exact same thing, but there's no drain for the turbo. I mean, it's there, it's just not like drilled out from the factory. So as you can see on the inside, it's just blank. So we need to drill out this hole, and we need to tap these as well. So let me show you what I got. Here is our oil return flange to our oil pan. As you can see, the holes line up perfectly. They're just the wrong size and they need to be drilled out. These are the bolts that came with the kit. So these are the bolts I want to use. This is an MA by 1.25 bolt. So this is MA by 1.25 tap. And on the tap, it tells you exactly what size drill bit to use. That way you can tap this hole perfectly. It says use drill bit 1764 or F8. So I happen to have a 1764 drill bit just sitting in my toolbox. So what I'm going to do is take this bolt, put it in here, and just go like this. So that's how you know how far you want to go in. So what you want to do is you know you want to drill in, I don't know if that's maybe 1/2 inch. So you want to put a stop on the drill bit. That way you don't drill too far. That way when you hit the stop, the drill bit doesn't go any further in. That way you don't drill through this whole thing. If you drill through this whole thing, it's totally not the end of the world, but then it's just an excuse for oil to get out of the oil pan and seep through these bolts. So you would have to seal them really well. So I do not want to drill through the whole thing. I'm going to do my best and drill it out properly. We are going to knock this out and put you guys on the time lapse, and I will show you when it is done. Here is our fitting for our oil return. This will go on our pan, and then it'll probably be angled somewhere like that. And then the turbo, the bottom of the turbo is right about here. So it looks like we're gonna have some good gravity to go down. It is not gonna be the most ideal setup, but it's gonna work. That's it for this small project. Now what we're going to do is we are going to take the wire wheel and we are going to get all this old gasket sealer out of all of these holes and all the way around here where the front main and the oil pump sits, and then right here where it mates to the rear main seal housing. So I'm just going to hit this with the wire wheel, maybe just hose it off, and then we'll just put it to the side. That way when the motor comes back and we actually do go to put this on, we will give it a really good cleaning. Okay guys, now we're starting to get to the interesting projects of the car. So what I want to do next is, of course, you know that I'm keeping AC and it's going to be turboed, so I'm going to have an intercooler. And then the radiator, what am I going to use for the radiator? Well, I kind of think I figured it all out. I'm not really sure. Here's my AC condenser. I'm going to put that in the car. That way I know where my radiator needs to be placed. I need to place my radiator as close to the nose of the car as possible to keep it away from the engine to have more room. This is a Mishimoto radiator out of an MK3 Toyota Supra. The reason why people use these radiators is because they fit directly in between the factory frame rails on the E36. There's no cutting, no welding, none of that. E36s, the radiators are actually mounted with these brackets. So you take these, there's a clip right here, you just take these and you put them up in the clip. I'm not going to clip it in because it's hard to get back off, and then that is what holds the radiator. So these just unclip and we don't really need these anymore. So the whole idea is we're going to take this radiator and we need to get it in the car, right? But how are we going to do that? We are going to build a saddle that will bolt in to this location here, and the saddle is going to cradle the radiator, and then off of that cradle we're going to build tabs to bolt to the bottom of the intercooler. How we're going to mount this radiator, let me show you. I have metal right here that I just got from Home Depot. It's flat stock steel, and this big piece is 3/16 thick by 3 inches wide. And then I got this piece right here. It's a little thicker. This is a 1/4 inch thick by 1.5 inches wide. So it's only half as wide, but it's thicker. Hopefully I can bend this, put it in a vise and just bend it. So basically what I'm gonna do is, let me show you on the fridge here. So if you're looking at the frame rails from the front of the car, it's right here. And then those are those little tabs that hold the stock radiator. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just going to take my flat stock steel and I'm going to bend it like this enough for the radiator to sit right inside of it. And then of course we're going to have to drill holes on the bottom so we could sit the radiator studs inside of there. So it's just going to be hanging like this. That's what we're going to have to do because we technically have no lower core support that we can drill into or use. So that's the idea for the radiator. And then like I said, we're just going to build the tabs, and then we'll have the freaking intercooler right in front of the car, right behind the bumper, that hopefully will mount to the same thing. Let's get to work. I'm going to hang the condenser and I'm going to put the radiator in place, maybe like on some blocks or something. Here's the whole idea behind this radiator. I'm going to use the stock, I don't know what you call it, freaking radiator cover slash front panel, because it looks ugly without it. So I just put that in there, and then I cut a beautiful little notch out for my radiator, so it fits right up in there perfectly. And see, the radiator touches this this tab. I'm gonna figure out whether I want to get rid of it or not. See, it just looks ugly without it. Looks super ugly. Okay, so let me pull the radiator out. And here's this cradle slash saddle that I built. So what I did was I sat the radiator kind of where I wanted it. I didn't want it to stick up too high, so I put it just flush with the cross member, and then I took my measurements and stuff like that. Remember, the radiator has these things on there, these things at the bottom, so we have to drill those in there too. So I took account for that. I think it was like ½ inch or something like that. And you can literally see how not straight it is because I was beating the shit out of it with a hammer. Outside to outside, it's 27 3/4, so it didn't come out perfectly like I wanted, but that's okay. And then the height is, it's about 5 1/4. 5 1/4, not bad, Andrew. This is gonna be really strong. This is actually gonna hold my radiator, and it should hold the bottom half of my intercooler. I'm gonna build some tabs for the intercooler too. After the radiator is all mounted and everything is in there, I'm going to mock up the intercooler. I do have a welder, so I'm just going to take this, bend it to where I need, and I'm gonna weld it to the bottom of that saddle to hold the bottom of my intercooler. And then we'll figure out mounts for the top later. That shouldn't be too difficult. But yeah, I'm pretty stoked how this is working out. So now what I need to do is I need to center the radiator in the actual saddle. I need to drill the holes in the saddle for the radiator, and then I need to drill the holes in the side of the saddle. That way I can mount the saddle to the car. I centered it over the radiator, and I have the center point of the holes I want to drill for the studs so that the radiator sits perfectly in the middle of this thing. I didn't cut the holes for the sides yet because I actually did a measurement with the radiator in to the firewall, and it looks like the JZ is going to be a very tight fit. I'm talking within ½ inch. It's going to be on the firewall, and then the pulleys are going to be pretty much on the fans of the radiator. So that's how it is in my 180SX, and it is kind of a pain in the ass to keep it cool. I'm not going to drill those holes until I actually get the engine mocked up in the actual car, and then I will go back to the radiator. But for now, we're gonna drill these holes, and we're gonna get the radiator fitted in the saddle, and then we will move on to our next project. Well, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of burned through those 2 stepper bits, and then my good one, my big one, burned through that one too. Thing's still on fire. Here's the saddle. I'm just gonna call it a saddle. The saddle is all the way in, and the holes are pretty big, but at least they're the same size. So let's see if we could drop this in. Okay, the radiator is in. Not as far down as I would like, but I can always adjust that when I go to bolt the saddle in. Actually, you know what? That's kind of perfect. That is actually, that's perfect. Technically, it could go a little bit higher. No, but that's actually right where I want it. It's perfect. It fits right in my slot. I'm happy with that for now. And then we will get back to this radiator mount when I actually mock up the engine in the car. All right, guys, we're gonna move on to our next project. What I got here is a few suspension or drivetrain components that I thought I was going to need to make this car better once it gets back on the road. So let me show you what I got. We'll start off over here. This is a differential out of an E36. I don't really know what year. All I know is it's out of a 6-cylinder model, so the case of the differential is bigger and it can handle more power. So since I have a 318i, everything is like kind of baby on there. Everything is small. So this is called the medium case diff. I have a small case diff. And then with the diff comes the axles. You can't run 4-cylinder axles on a 6-cylinder differential because they have different stubs. Now the stubs come out, but my stubs really didn't fit in there comfortably, and I didn't feel comfortable running that. So I just went out, I found a E36 328i parts car that I grabbed these axles off of. I just cleaned them up, of course. That's why they look halfway decent. And then this diff is out of some type of E36. The gear ratio is a 3.9. Now, the reason why I got a 3.9 is because I'm putting a Toyota transmission in there, and the way the gearing is on the Toyota transmissions, this is the diff that you want to get to for everything to be like somewhat normal. So if you know anything about BMWs, you know that they really have like longer gear ratios, and if I paired a longer gear ratio up with my transmission, it just would have been a dog. It would have been so slow. It would have had a good top speed, but it would have been really slow off the get-go, which is totally something I didn't want. So this car should have a little bit of pep with this differential, plus it should be able to handle the power of the 1JZ. Yeah, so that's it for the rear end of the car. We're really not going to do much else until, you know, we get the car on the road and we figure out what else we need. Eventually, I'm going to drop the whole rear end and do the bushings and everything like that. But for now, I'm putting this in just to get it out of the way, and I need to get the car back on the road. As for the front, as you can see, I just got some. These are actually M3 Bilstein front shocks. So I do have M3 shocks on my car right now, but they are blown. So I found these used for a good price. I'm just going to put my lowering springs on here, and hopefully they'll be okay. These are Bilstein Sport shocks, so hopefully these do come off a 6-cylinder car, so hopefully they should be able to handle the extra weight of the 1JZ, and they'll be a little bit stiffer and stuff like that. So we're going to put those on. And then also for the front end, my front end's always been really sloppy ever since I got the car. So I went ahead and just got some, I just bought a kit off of Amazon. I think it was like 150, 160 bucks or something like that. And it comes with new lower control arms, inner and outer tie rods, and it comes with sway bar end links. And then, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe these are called the lollipop bushings. So they didn't give you the whole thing. I don't know why. I'm assuming it would have been more expensive. So you just have to press yours out. That's all good. I have a press. So this really isn't going to be a how to install video. I just want to get these in. It actually looks fairly simple. There's freaking 2 bolts on the lower control arm, and then this slides right out of the lollipop. And then as for the end links, you know, 2 bolts on those, and then in and out of tie rods, you just thread them in. And I'm going to match the alignment with my old one just to get it back on the road, and then we will go get an alignment. We're going to start on the rear end first. We have to pull the old small case diff and axles out of there, and then we can put these puppies in, and I will look up the proper torque specs and stuff like that. To take these diffs out, there's only 3 bolts. The only thing is since I'm working on jack stands, the car is not that high off the ground, but it's going to be kind of a pain getting this heavy diff in there by myself, but I think I can do it. So we got 3 bolts here, and then 6 bolts on each side connecting the axle to the differential, and then a bolt on the end. So should be pretty straightforward. By the way, I already cleaned these, and I'm going to put a tiny bit of anti-seize on these splines right here because I had a hell of a time getting them out of the parts car. Luckily, I had some PB Blaster with me though, so it was pretty simple. But yeah, we're going to dab some anti-seize on those before we slide those in. So overall, looking at these diffs, you can obviously tell that the medium case is a little bit bigger. And you can also tell that the axle flange is a lot bigger. As you can also see, the medium case is longer. So the small case is about 15 3/4. And the medium case is, these aren't exact measurements, 16 3/4. Yeah, so after measuring, it looks like the medium case diff is almost an inch longer. Okay guys, just a quick tip on these lollipops here. So what I did is, you can see these bushings are actually in these things they call lollipops, I guess, because looks like a lollipop. As you can see, it sticks out about, I don't know, a little over 1/8 inch on each side. And it's pressed in there pretty good. So I have this 12-ton shop press and these arbor plates. Luckily, this where it sticks out, it's right in those arbor plates, but you have to make sure that you put it on the flat edge because one edge won't allow it to sit flat. So here's the flat edge. And then what I did was I just took the new one. You put the new one right on top of it, and then you just grab a piece of steel or something. That way you don't crush it. Center it. We start to press it out. Should press the new one right in. So let's see. Oh, there's the old one. Now I gotta press the new one in a little bit more. Okay guys, fast forward. Everything's back together and everything's torqued to spec and stuff like that. I think I'll go over the ones off the top of my head. I think it's like 80 for the 3 strut bolts that attach to the knuckle, and then I think it's like 44 for the tie rod, and I think it's like 45 for like the lollipops, and I think these are very little, like 16, 20. And then back on the axles, I got these torqued. I think it was like 284 on the outside bolt, and then when you're done, make sure to smash these things back in so that they don't come loose by themselves. And then the axle bolts to the differential were 74 foot-pounds. These 2 back ones are 55, and I think that one was 70, the one in the front. And then right now what I'm doing is I have the fill cap and the drain cap off. I was just about to drain this diff, and then I realized it was already drained, so that's all good. I'm just gonna go ahead and clean up the surfaces a little bit, and then I'm gonna put some more fluid in. Let me show you the fluid I got. So what I got here, the royal purple 75. Oh shit, they're on the different shelves. Damn it. Oh, I just noticed that. Son of a gun. I got 175, 140, which is what I meant to get, and then 75.90. I honestly don't think it's gonna be too bad. It just needs to have this friction modifier additive in it. Even though they're 2/8, hopefully they don't, I don't know, hopefully it's not bad, but this one has friction modifier additive in it too. I bought this because there's no way in hell that you can get to that diff fill. So this was like, I don't know, $6 or $7, and you just attach it to it and you pump it, and you can pretty much just pump it all in there. So I think this takes, I don't know, like a quart and a half or something. We'll see how much it takes. I got 2 quarts right here. So I'm just going to put the drain cap in, and I'm going to start pumping it. Okay guys, radiator is in, front suspension is brand new, rear axles are upgraded, rear diff is upgraded, rear gear ratio is changed. What else do we do in this video? I don't know. I just been filming stuff over time. So actually right now we are working on assembling the motor, so you guys will see that in the next video. But I think the car is just about ready to accept the motor, so hopefully we can test fit it soon and make sure that everything is okay and we can get our radiator in there safely with our AC condenser and all that stuff. But that being said, I want to thank you guys for watching. This is Irish Garza, slightly modified. I'll see you guys later. Peace.